Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 5 Questions with the Paulists. I'm Mike Hayes, and we're going to go out to one of the places that when I started working for the Paulists, this is one of the first cities that they sent me to visit. It was Knoxville, Tennessee, and Immaculate Conception Parish and John the 23rd Newman Center at the University of Tennessee. We find Deacon Patrick Murphy-Racey, and he's with us today. Hey, how you doing, Deacon?
I'm doing great, thank you. It was a white Christmas. It was late here, so we got snow on the ground. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's awesome. Question number one, what's one thing that made you want to become a deacon affiliate with the Paulists?
I kind of backed into it, honestly. Father Eric was a really good guy when he was assigned to the University of Tennessee, and I got to know him pretty well. Anytime when high school kids transitioned to college, we would kind of meet and retreats and things. I just got to know him pretty well. And I'm a professional photographer. That's what I've done all my life. And I'm sponsored by Sony. So I'm what's called a Sony artisan. And in non-COVID times, they would fly us all over the place, even out of the country, and give talks and do training and work with engineers on how to build cameras and lenses, stuff like that, testing. And so I go to New York a lot, and I was in Central Park shooting something for Sony, and Father Eric, I did a Facebook post. Father Eric like jumped down my throat, and he's like, what did I do? Like, why wouldn't you come and see me? And so I had no idea that the Paulists had a mother house there. I didn't know anything. And so he invited me to come over and gave me a tour. We ended up going and grabbing dinner that night. And then he said, if you come to New York, you should maybe think about staying with us because we have, this facility for people that are friends of the Paulists. And I was like, oh, okay. And I started doing that. And what happened is I would come into the city, and I would usually do always an extra day because I love the city. I love to shoot in the city, doing street photography. And I would just get up and go to mass in the morning with all the elderly guys that were retired. And I would go in the chapel upstairs, and it was phenomenal. And I just got to know some of these older Paulists first. So I really backed into it. It wasn't something that I really heard about and wanted to do. And these older guys at the meal times would say, oh, are you one of the deacons? And I'd say, yeah, but I didn't know what they were talking about. I had no idea. And finally, I asked one of these guys, I said, what do you always ask me about if I'm a deacon? I'm a deacon, but like, seems like you're asking me a different question. He said, well, we thought you were a deacon affiliate. And so that's how I found out about it. It was accidental completely, although looking back, it was probably all calculated on the current president's, that's probably what his plan was all along. Just set that hook and then, hard and pull. So I just really backed into it. And I began to, on my own, read about Isaac Hecker. And I was struck with a couple of things with him, how the printing press was such a big deal. He was using the media that was available to him at the time, and also his patriotism. And I never served in the military, but I work as a police chaplain, and I work with veterans all the time now. And I got to tell you, there's some guilt on me about not serving, when I was in college and going to do whatever I did afterwards. And something about the charism that he had about appreciating America really resonated with me. And then also all the things he was saying about the church. And I just, began reading. And then I finally asked him, I said, what is this deal with this affiliate thing? How do I find out more about it? And that's kind of how but I really backed into it. It was accidental entirely.
That's really cool. That's a church I was married in New York too, at St. Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful church.
Yeah. And so, question two, you just mentioned that, you have quite a diverse background. You've had a career as a photojournalist and sports media, and part of your ministry as a deacon is to be a chaplain to the police department. So how have your experiences in both of those things made you a better deacon?
Well, chaplaincy as a ministry is what's called a deacon. It's a ministry of presence. And so by just getting into the right seat of a squad car and then, wearing a bulletproof vest, wearing the patches on your sleeves, going out in uniform, right now you're putting yourself at risk. People are trying to kill police officers. And so basically becoming part of that scene, just breathing the air inside the squad car is diaconal. I mean, I'm being present to not just the officer that I'm riding with, but every call that he goes on, whether it's a domestic call or whether it's an overdose, whether it's a lost child or someone who's run away. There's a lot more and more now we're dealing with, family members that have Alzheimer's that have walked off, and we're trying to find them before they freeze to death or whatever. All these different types of calls, but especially the ones where, there's abuse or it's just a great place to be. So basically, being a police chaplain is really a neat thing, but also most people are interested in sports, to some degree. And so it's an easy kind of a conversation starter. And as we love to do a relational evangelism in the Paulists, it's an easy way to get going. So people find out, oh, you work for Sports Illustrated? Wow, what was that like? And then you can make that conversation move in any direction you want to. I think my background does help me in sort of evangelistic ways, and also just being, friends with people. It's easy. There's so much commonality between, the stuff I do with the police and then all the stuff that I do just as a deacon. It just is very natural,
Yeah, that's all great stuff. And so, question 3. What's been your favorite comfort food throughout the pandemic? What's something you've discovered?
It's hard. I love food. And the thing I missed the most was hibachi, man. I'm all about like hacking up a steak and like, lighting stuff on fire. I love that, man. It's like liturgy, But I think the thing that I went to the most was, we all did drive-through, and, finding a really good salad after too many burgers was good. And just some restaurants closed down, but they did takeout only. And so I think, Greek food and Chinese food and Japanese hibachi takeout was really how we sort of stayed sane around here in our house.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Question 4, I was really interested. I saw the video that you did about your New Year's resolution last year, where you dumped all of your Adobe software and learned like an entirely new photography platform in about 30 to 60 days. What is your New Year's resolution this year?
I've got a couple. When you're self-employed, you have to have your own goals. You got to set your own goals, and they got to be realistic. I'm building a new website right now because I haven't looked at my own website in probably 5 years. So why would I expect anyone else to look at it? So I'm like redoing that, and I'm also, that's interesting because I've got 2 major navigation tools. One says my past, and it points to all my sports stuff, and the other one's my future, which is more education and teaching and sharing what I've learned about photography and video to new people that don't know what I know. But the other thing is I'm really going to try to, find new business. I lost an incredible amount of business in 2020. My income was down like 80%. Right. And so that was it was a big hit. And so I'm trying to figure out, I just turned 57 and I want to stay relevant. And when you're a self-employed photographer, you really have to reinvent yourself every couple of years anyway. And so I've got quarterly goals. I want to have my website completely finished by February, end of February, March 1st. And, I want to try and see if I can figure out a way to still make a living shooting sports, because like nobody wants to pay for anything anymore. So I'm trying to figure that out. And I've got some good leads, and it's not going to be in college or pros. It's going to be in high school, believe it or not. So that's a whole new thing for me. And then I've got, big goals about riding. I'm a very much a motorcyclist, and I love to ride. And I just bought a second motorcycle, a used bike, that I put in Arizona. And the idea is to leave this bike out west and then fly to it. So I'm hoping to be able to ride more often in my favorite places to ride, which is the Western United States, but be home more often too. So by having the bike out there, I should be able to just fly to it. And, so I don't know. But yeah, you got to have dreams and you got to have goals, man. Otherwise, there's no point. You just have to have, a reason to get up in the morning. And again, being self-employed has its own challenges, especially during COVID.
Cool. Those sounds like great goals for the 2022.
Yeah, I hope so.
And then our last question is the one we've been asking everybody lately is, you've been stranded on a desert island. You have all the scriptures already. So what's one other book that you need to have with you?
You really got me on that one. I've been thinking about that for a few days. And I think that one of the greatest things that happened to me during formation to become a permanent deacon was diving deep into the tradition of the church. And the big touchstone for me was studying systematic theology and discovering Karl Rahner. And I was Jesuit educated anyway. And so when I found out about him, I just kind of freaked out and I bought a lot of books. And his primary book is called Foundations of the Christian Faith. And I think I would probably want that one, because if I was completely stranded on a desert island by myself, I might have the focus needed to actually read Rahner and understand what he's saying. Maybe it's a stretch, but I would like to think that I could, take the training wheels off and actually with the scripture and that book, maybe I could actually figure out what he was saying, because the guy is so deep, it's phenomenal. But to be able to have a faith of like he had, an understanding, that's something I would love to have, which I don't. So
yeah, one of my heroes as well, Karl Rahner. So
oh man, unbelievable.
I used to say to my professor, Father Jim Basic, who taught me Rahner, I used to say, I don't understand Rahner when I read him. What I understand is you telling me about Rahner.
Yeah, but even if you take a sentence away, a sentence of Rahner weighs 40 pounds. So if you just read a paragraph 3 or 4 times, as I often do, if you just pull a sentence away and then keep it, it can be a homily, it can be all kinds of things. So he's powerful.
Yeah,
deep.
No, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, one of my heroes. And so, Deacon Patrick Murphy-Racey, this has been great. We're glad that things are going well out there in Knoxville at Immaculate Conception, John the 23rd. Hey, thanks for all your ministry, especially the stuff you're doing with police officers and
absolutely.
Between ride-alongs and going to see them in the hospital and all those kinds of things. It's just a great ministry presence that you do out there.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm looking forward. Hopefully 21 will be the year I actually become a deacon affiliate, because I'm not one yet. I'm still in formation, so I'm getting beat to death by Frank DeCiano all the time. He's a taskmaster, man, I'll tell you.
Absolutely. He hired me many years ago, so I know from experience.
Now we know who to blame, right?
Yeah. So I'll pray for your discernment to the deacon affiliate program. Pray for my vocation to the diaconate as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
And this has been 5 Questions with the Paulist, folks. I'm Mike Hayes. He is Deacon Patrick Murphy-Racey in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we'll see you all again soon.